Now we'll move on to our next session on the topic Future of Arbitration and Mediation in India post COVID-19. The session will touch upon points like future of ADR, ODR, online dispute resolution, conciliation and mediation, etc. Now I'll invite Mr. Manoj K. Singh, founding partner Singh and Associates, to present his presentation. Over to you, Mr. Singh.
Welcome to everybody. And it's a really uphill task to speak about ADR after the talk by the Honorable Justice Deepak Mishra and Honorable Justice Radhakrishnan. But today my inquiry is entirely different. My inquiry is practical. My inquiry is that how we can keep on carrying, we can keep on with the arbitration. And my inquiry is, in fact, a little bit larger also, in the terms that why we are thinking post-COVID-19. Do we really know when we will be in the era of the post-COVID-19? At least I don't know. If you see the theories which are coming in, the COVID is going to be new normal. So what is new normal? In a mathematical expression, new normal, if I may write, is equal to normal plus COVID. So we are going to live in the era of the COVID for certain time, sometime at least. A lot of analysis going on by the World Bank, WHO, and the scenario analysis is going on the front of whether the COVID is short term, medium term, long term. Everybody is strategizing in the line of that at least we should have a strategy from the medium term. Now, when we say in the medium term, already a couple of months has been passed, we are living in during the time of the COVID. It has really affected everything in our life. I mean, the way we are undertaking business or studying or writing or going to office, everything it has affected. But we are trying to find out a way out of it. Because, the only constant to me perhaps is change. So you cannot stop the change. You can change with the change. Now here, my inquiry today is that how we can still effectively conduct the arbitration during these changing times. I cannot see in a very short term, in a 3 month or 6 month or 7th month or 8 month or 12 month, this COVID is going to run away. If I may quote, I'm reading from the Anthony Fauci, Dr. Anthony Fauci, the very famous immunologist. I mean, he said, please be ready for another 18 months. The Harvard study I'm again quoting, it says that it might continue or reoccur till 2024. So which short term we are talking about? Then I'm also not talking about that how we were conducting arbitration in the past. That is not my inquiry. We know that in a one line, in a one breath, arbitration is all about the flexibility, expeditious remedy, informal atmosphere, and a cost effectiveness. But what is happening today? Somehow the arbitration pace is standstill. And perhaps there is also a think tank which is thinking on the line that how IT infrastructure can be further elevated to the level where justice can be delivered. My inquiry is narrower in that regard. My inquiry is that with the existing setup, if we can attend this conference to the VC, why can't we can conduct arbitration? I mean, let us divide the phases in the arbitration. There is a procedural hearing where timelines are set. Post-procedural hearing, then parties exchange their statement of claim or etc., all the documents. And then there is a hearing required for framing of the issues. I'm just on the practical side of it. After framing of the issues, there is a situation of cross-examination if documentary evidence are not enough. you can definitely go for the oral evidence and that cross-examination can happen. And post cross-examination, all we know that there is a final argument. Now, at least till the framing of issues, I can't see any practical difficulty with the current infrastructure with respect to IT, with the current infrastructure with respect to lawyers are having at their respective places of residence. Let us go to the next phase. My whole inquiry is with the current situation, current infrastructure. Definitely growth will happen. Definitely infrastructure will grow. Definitely certain other things will come in. Definitely some protocols will come in. But as of today, what is available, can we keep on going with our arbitrations or not? My answer is yes. And I want to, in fact, inquire my yes, that whether there is any strength in that yes or not. Now let us examine it from the perspective that whether any protocol is required. My answer is no. There is enough protocol. The Arbitration and Conciliation Act is a complete code in itself. That has been said by the Supreme Court number of times. And if you examine it carefully, very small act, but complete code. If you examine it carefully, you will find that in the case of the disagreement between the parties, the arbitral tribunal can set the procedure. I mean, I'm really surprised. The section 19 of the Arbitration Conciliation Act is very clear about it, but still there is a concept which is in practice to take the consent of the parties, and one of the party or parties are denying. It is getting adjourned and it is getting re-adjourned. And sometimes it is getting adjourned without any timeline. The basic purpose of arbitration will go to the toss. The basic purpose of the arbitration is going to be defeated if we have such kind of unlimited adjournment. So whether the tribunal is empowered or not, let us examine that. If parties are not giving a consent, even though tribunal is empowered, Section 19 is very clear that if parties are not coming to the procedure with a mutual consent, then arbitral tribunal can set the procedure. And there is no bar, at least in the whole of the Arbitration Act, as a student and the practitioner of arbitration, I cannot see there is any bar in the whole Arbitration Act that tribunal cannot set the procedure in a way to take care of the present need. Not only here, I mean, though again my inquiry is very narrow with respect to Indian arbitration scenario during and post-COVID. But if you look at the ICC rules and even the amended rules due to the COVID, I had an occasion to look at it. And that opening line in the second and third paragraph again says, as decided by party or decided by tribunal. We already have in our act. If we want to, if the tribunal in these times, for the continuity of the arbitration, want to invoke Hague Convention on Evidence, want to invoke ICC rules, want to invoke some guidance from SEAC, want to invoke certain other guidance on the IT protocol, the tribunal is free to do so. I cannot see there is any impediment. If you read section 19 and 25C particularly, tribunal is free to do so. What our inquiry is, I'm hearing so many things. I mean, on and off at most of the places, that there may be lack of IT infrastructure, there may be a lack of some. I mean, why presumption of lacking something? I mean, every webinar is attended by hundreds of people. Trust me. I mean, all of you know, I need not to ask you to trust me. Then why not the tribunal can set the protocol? And suppose, take a situation where some party is going to say that, okay, despite of the tribunal passing the procedural protocol, I'm not going to attend. There can be a situation. And if they're not going to attend, I mean, there is a precedence by the Supreme Court. And what recent judgment says, it says if you opt to be ex parte, because the tribunal can dictate the order that if you are not attending after the procedural order has been passed, then the party will be treated as ex parte. And now Supreme Court says that you have opted to be ex parte, then you cannot come to the court under Section 34 and challenge the award on this ground that I was treated as ex parte. It was out of your own volition. We have opted out of it. If out of your own volition you have opted out of it, then you cannot be heard. And there is one another important Supreme Court judgment which says that now under 34, the courts cannot send back for the redetermination of any issue or all the issues by the tribunal. Court have to decide it either way or that way. So, meaning thereby any party which is not attending despite of the, let me to complete the whole thread, any part, if there is an order by the tribunal, procedural detail order by the tribunal that we will go ahead with the kind of this IT protocol and this way we will continue it. And suppose one party opted not to attend, there is ex parte order. Again, the arbitration is continuing, award published. Then if the party who has opted not to attend the arbitration, in terms of the procedural order of the tribunal, they have done so at their own peril. Because tomorrow in the court, they cannot bring on new evidence. So it is quite enforceable procedural order if tribunals are going to opt for it and going to pass the same. So what is important? There are 3-4 factors which are important, I would say. First is that we as a lawyer, I mean, there are 4-5 participants in the arbitration. One is definitely lawyers from both the sides. Second is the parties. Third is a witness. Fourth is a tribunal. Fifth is a support staff, stenos, etc. Now, we need to have a mindset that if this arbitration, the purpose of the arbitration was the effective, informal, cost-effective dispute determination or dispute resolution, then joining it for the uncharted future where we don't know when COVID-19 will go is antithetical to the very concept of the arbitration. And I'm not in that favor. Now, whether we should wait for someday the IT infrastructure of Z level or Y level will catch up, then we will start the arbitration in the terms of protocol or Hague protocol or anything. I mean, we have enough IT expertise or the working knowledge of IT is no more a rocket science anymore. We all use a smartphone. I don't understand the person who can interact with his or her smartphone cannot come, why not can come on the VC and interact to the tribunal? I heard Honorable Justice Chandrachud Zoom session on the other day. He said that he heard the hearing for more than 2 hours. I mean, if it can happen in the courtroom, in the name of the urgent applications, people are running to the court through the video conferencing. Why adjournment? I mean, with due respect, I'm putting this question for the consideration by all the tribunal. Why tribunals, due to the reason that one of the parties or both the parties have not consented, will adjourn it indefinitely? This is not in the interest of anybody. We are in the time where the disputes are going to rise, and I'm talking about the commercial dispute. Again, I'm narrowing my inquiry. Indian arbitration, commercial dispute, the dispute where already there is existing arbitration clause in the agreement itself. COVID-19 interpretation with respect to force majeure and with respect to change of law provision, which are there in most of the large contracts, this will lead to further claims. And if COVID is going to stay for 3 years or 4 years or 2.5 years, as per all the studies, till the vaccination is available, I mean, are we thinking that we will not file a claim? If we will file a claim, we will not go ahead with the arbitration, and we will wait till a cow come back to home. And then we reach to the post-COVID-19 scenario. I mean, to me, that is not a correct approach. And the spearhead of this can be, I mean, if you call it a movement, that I would like to name this as a movement that how we can continue with the arbitration. And arbitral tribunal is only in power to pass such procedural order. Or there is a other way, I mean, practical way, that if lawyers can move such application, and if the tribunal disagree, lawyers can find a other appellate route to the courts, and then perhaps some court will give the order. But it's all about mindset. And first, the tribunal has to decide it, that whether there is any impediment within the act upon them, or by any rule, if it is institutional arbitration, that tribunal cannot pass the procedural order by taking care of the need of the present movement under COVID. Look from the other scenario. For a moment, let us examine for the other scenario as a benefit of it. Today, or in the past, in the normal time, how the arbitration was happening. Everybody was coming to the one place. Sometimes arbitrator may be traveling from the different city. Sometimes the participant may be traveling for the different city. Sometimes lawyers may be different. I mean, some travel arrangement has to be undertaken in every arbitration. Then everybody has to gather at one place. Arbitration hearing has to be arranged. If at least 60% of the procedural work, even in post-COVID-19, even after 5 years, I'm taking a hypothetical situation that COVID is out of our ecosystem. There will be a culture in the long run that all these hearings can be finished on the video conferencing. No meeting for any of the procedural hearing would be required. This will in fact serve the basic purpose of the flexibility, expeditious approach, and the cost effectiveness, which are the basic touchstones when the arbitration was first possibly carved out and even thought of. And it will serve those purposes. And we will be in habit of taking procedural hearing, and it will augment the speed of the arbitration also. All the filing work, everything can be done. There can be some kind of psychological issues in the mind of the people that, oh no, the cross-examination cannot be done. I'm not talking about cross-examination. Then somebody can say, oh, the final argument cannot be done. I'm not talking about the final argument. Let us have a more narrow inquiry at the moment, whether all these procedural hearings, which constitute by and large the 60% of the activity of the arbitration, including the small applications of Section 17, etc., all this can be heard over the VC or not? My answer is yes. If yes, for all times to come, it will reduce the cost. Take another situation. What will happen on the time front? We are busy as soon as the next date, as a practitioner, we all face daily this. As soon as the next date has to be finalized by the tribunal, everybody start looking at the diary. And there is an invariable clash. So even for the procedural hearings, the diaries of all the busy practitioners, there's no harm in it. I'm not saying any harm way. I'm saying practically. There is no date for months which are matching. If it is through video conference, then it will augment the speed. The matching of the date and timing of the arbitration will be non-issue. If you know that from taking you can take the VC from the house in the early morning hours, on the late evening hours, then the informality and the speedier methodology of the arbitration and purpose of the arbitration will be further augmented, will be further served. What is the harm in it? Take another situation. There is a pledge of greener arbitration. And I'm missing the name of the gentleman. He has said that, if you file the lesser documents, file the voluminous bundles, voluminous bundle. Thousands of pages, or sometimes hundreds of thousands of pages. We take 3 sets. If it is 3 arbitration tribunal, then 3 arbitrator tribunal, then we serve it to the other side. Lakhs pages are printed and served. do you really think, I mean, this is a question to all of you, or I'm asking to myself also. In the era of the era of the digital signature, where even the government filings are now happening with the digital signature, do we really need to insist of the physical filing, especially in the arbitration? There are secure modes of the digital signature of serving the documents on each other. And then it will definitely help in organizing it more, because the common artificial intelligence like tagging or like any small thing is more easily available. It will increase the efficiency. And now I can recall the name. Lucy Greenwood has in fact taken out the pledge on this, and then people are voting on it. That how much carbon footprint you will reduce just by the arbitration if you finish the physical filing. And post-COVID, pre-COVID, during COVID, in the today's secure environment of the IT, security is required. The digital signature is required. I mean, why anybody should insist of physical filing? It is just a need to acclimatize with the technology. And if you say, I don't want to acclimatize with the technology, I want to run my old way, I'm sorry. Nothing is running in this country or the world the way it was running in 1950. The same cars are not there, same bikes are not there, same food habits are not there, same weather is not there, same way financing is not there. Why you want to insist the legal practice should go in same way as it was going in 1940, 1950 or 1960? Why not we adapt the technology? Smartphones we are happy to use for talking or storing our information or exchanging our views or ideas, but arbitration will not do. Why? I don't feel comfortable. I mean, this is a psychological issue. We have to come out of the psychological barrier. These kind of psychological barrier are in fact somehow crushing the very purpose of the arbitration. And arbitral tribunals need to look at it. Nobody else can, correct it. Protocols can be set. Any convention can be looked into. And it is not like that we are going to attempt it for the first time. No. I'm not suggesting that. If you see, there is a concept of, if students are also here in this call, they can look at it. There is a concept of blockchain arbitration, and there is a concept of a smart contracts. Even the contracts are digital, written in the binary language and spread over in IT protocol to various computers. So there cannot be any kind of change with it or any kind of chhed with it. So there are ways, already it is in practice. Even you see the ICANN for the domain dispute. A whole of the ICANN arbitration is on the digital space. Never I have heard of any physical hearing, at least for blockchain and ICANN. I mean, enough technology is there. Trust me, enough technology is there. We just need to change your mindset. And in the long term, it is going to be beneficial. It is going to be the cost effective. It is going to be, it will reduce the timing. It is definitely, it will augment the process. It will definitely help. But the beginning point is that tribunal has to start passing the orders and must look at the way that how the effective implementation of order can be undertaken, and which is possible. We have enough in the court. Only the tribunal need to be sensitized about it, and I'm sure it will happen. The whole way how evidence to be created, how evidence to be gathered, and how evidence to be transmitted is going to change. And you know, there will be another benefit. Another benefit could be that in my country, there is a less success with mediation. Perhaps if the speed of, with the increase of the speed of the arbitration, people will start taking the right mediation choices. People will start looking into the mediation, and it is possible. It is possible under UNCITRAL, it is possible under our Arbitration Act that you can do the mediation pre-arbitration, and all of you know you can do the mediation during the arbitration also. Now, on the technology side, if you are chatting on the webinar or any kind of VC, The beauty of any conciliation is that it is governed by the confidentiality. Anything said by anybody cannot be used against the party if settlement agreement is not achieved. We all are aware of. In fact, the culture of mediation should grow and will grow if by using the technology, the speed of arbitration we are going to augment. And that is the requirement of the day. That is the way there will be a benefit to the practitioners like me if we can keep on rolling the ball. There will be speedier justice, which is the basic concept. It will be more cost effective. Then it will be, the claims can be lodged on the time if we just avoid the unnecessary adjournments. To me, I'm sorry, most of the adjournment requested by party and consent denied by party are, most of the time they are unnecessary, that perhaps I'm not feeling correct with this model to carry on. If Supreme Court can hear the 2 hour hearing, I'm sure everybody can argue and hear the hearing on this model. So I will rest my case here. I mean, these are open questions. In fact, I'm not attempting any answer to it. It is a question of mindset. It is a question of your psychology, how you want to reach to it, how you want to do it, which protocol you want to apply, which protocol you don't want to apply, and change is the only constant. Please remember, if you say I want to resist the change, that is not going to happen. Change is going to throw you out from the stream, but change will happen. Change is happening, friend. Let's embrace this change. Let use this change, and a possible solution will have to be found by the lawyers also, with due respect. I mean, and we just need to attempt. The solutions are already there. Even I'm not big fan of suggesting that in the future IT will develop, then something will happen. Enough IT is there to me, enough. I mean, and the best way to survive is to use the resources which are always available. To me, the only definition of any planning, so planning for COVID, planning for arbitration, and planning for anything, there is a one-line definition by Dr. Amrita Sen, and which is like this: planning is nothing but prioritization of resources. So today, my call is that we have enough resources. If we just plan it properly, the arbitration can definitely go on, and it will definitely create a culture of mediation. The parties will start taking the good negotiation deal in the mediation. It will help the cost line, it will help the timeline, it will definitely help some kind of environmental issues also. We'll stop printing lakhs of pages on daily basis. And on this note, I would like to rest my case. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. And thank you, Economic Times, for giving me this opportunity.
So much, Mr. Singh, for knowledge enriching session. Ladies and gentlemen, we are trending on Twitter by the hashtag ETADR Conclave. Keep tweeting using the same hashtag. You can share your questions in Q&A section to get answers from the experts.